What if I told you that your seat at the Colosseum could decide your fate, not just your view, that a single stone bench could reveal your wealth, your gender, your freedom, or your shame? The Roman Colosseum wasn't just an arena, it was a social machine, a stone and marble caste system where every citizen, slave, soldier, and senator had their place, carved into architecture. It wasn't random, it wasn't fair, and it was no accident. Tonight, you'll step into the sandals of an ancient Roman and see the games not just through your eyes, but through your seat. From hidden tokens and guarded entrances to the attic seats of the forgotten, this is how the Colosseum truly worked, and why it still echoes with the weight of empire. The air is cool, crisp and full of expectation. You awake not in the 21st century, but in the heart of the Roman Empire, sometime during the reign of Emperor Titus. Today is not just any day, it is a day of games. The Colosseum, Rome's newest, grandest and most awe-inspiring arena, is open into the public. Tens of thousands are flocking toward it, eager to glimpse the spectacles promised by the emperor himself. And somehow, you have a ticket. But before you go, you must understand something essential. Seats in the Colosseum were not merely benches, they were statements of class, of gender, of power, of invisibility. The Flavian Amphitheatre, as it was officially called, could hold between 50,000 and 80,000 spectators. But not all seats were created equal. In fact, where you sat, or if you were allowed in at all, depended entirely on who you were. Let us walk through it slowly. You dress for the occasion, perhaps not in a toga, those were typically worn by the elite, but maybe in a tunic and sandals. Around you the streets bustle with people, patricians in fine clothes carried by litters, soldiers in uniform, merchants hawking snacks, slaves shepherding their masters' children. The day is hotting up, and the city pulses with the energy of expectation. You approach the Colosseum, its travertine marble gleaming in the morning light. The structure is massive, imposing. Arches ring the circumference, statues decorate the upper tiers. This is not merely a stadium, it is a monument to imperial might, to Roman engineering, to spectacle. Now, the question of entry. Getting into the Colosseum was, at least officially, free of charge. Spectacles were a form of political generosity, the emperor's way of buying favour, appeasing the masses and projecting power. Admission was a gift to the people of Rome, but that didn't mean everyone was treated equally. You would have needed a tessera, an entry token, carved with your seat number, and the designated entrance arch. There were 80 numbered entrances in total. They wrapped around the amphitheatre like segments of a giant orange. The outermost entrances were reserved for the general public, but some, fewer in number, led directly to the prime seats, hidden behind velvet curtains or stone passageways. Let us explore who entered where. The best seats, the ones right above the arena, with a perfect view of the action, were reserved for the elite. Senators, magistrates, the emperor's friends and allies. These men sat in marble chairs, their names etched into the stone itself. If you were among them, your lineage was ancient, your wealth immeasurable, and your proximity to power undeniable. Just above them sat the equestrians, the knights of Rome, wealthy, influential, but not quite of senatorial rank. They had their own section and their own entrance. The hierarchy was visible, literal, and deeply enforced. Next came the ordinary male citizens of Rome. They occupied the middle tiers. These were wooden benches, crude by comparison, but still considered respectable. You might find bakers, craftsmen, veterans of the legions here, men who had some standing, some rights. They could vote. They were Roman. Further up, even higher, sat the women. Roman women were not permitted to mix freely with the men in the lower tiers. They were confined to the gallery above, sometimes covered, sometimes exposed to the elements. For noble women, this was a form of disgrace. For the poor, it was the only view they could get. There were no comfortable seats here, no cushions, no names carved in stone, just long hours on wooden planks, necks craned downward toward the arena below. But that was not the top. No, above the women's section, above even the highest citizen seats, was a space built into the attic, the very topmost part of the Colosseum. This was for the lowest of the low, slaves, foreigners, the poor, the homeless, people without citizenship, people without voice. They stood or sat on the bare stone. There were no awnings to protect them from the sun. No vendors climbed this high. From here, the arena was a distant oval, the fighters mere ants on the sand. The Roman term for this seating division was cavia, the tiered structure of benches that curved around the arena like a massive stone wave. It was split into 4 main sections: Ima cavia for the elite, Media cavia for the citizens, Summa cavia for the poor, and Maenianum secundum in legnis for women and slaves. Every inch of space reflected Rome's social order. And this was not simply a matter of preference, it was law. Roman officials took great pains to enforce these divisions. Ushers known as lictors patrolled the stairways. They carried staffs and maintained order. If you sat in a seat that wasn't yours, if you tried to sneak into a better tier, you would be removed, perhaps even beaten. The crowd shape told the story of the empire, but it wasn't just class and gender. Religion and morality played roles too. Vestal virgins, the priestesses of Vesta, were granted box seats near the emperor. Their virginity, their sacredness, gave them front row access. Gladiators, when not fighting, were hidden away. Actors considered immoral were banned entirely from the audience. And yet, despite the rigidity of seating, the Colosseum was, in some way, a great equalizer. All eyes, rich or poor, noble or enslaved, turned toward the same sand, toward the same blood, the same roars and groans. For a moment, the empire's boundaries dissolved. All were citizens of spectacle. If you were lucky enough to hold a seat tessera, it would show you not only your entrance and tier, but also your cunus, a wedge-shaped subsection, and your row number. The Romans engineered the seating like clockwork. Thousands could file in within minutes. Each stairway and corridor had a name. Vomitoria, not as you might think for vomiting, but because they spewed people forth like water. The efficiency was astonishing. Vendors would snake their way through the crowds. Hawkers sold honeyed nuts, dates and cups of wine. Children shouted. Drummers beat rhythms in the distance. The murmurs of expectation swelled. Then a trumpet. The emperor enters. Cheers erupt like a thunderclap. Banners wave. Senators rise. Horns blare. The games are about to begin. And wherever you are, in marble seat or shadowed alcove, you are now part of it. From the moment the gladiators step into the arena, the Colosseum is no longer a place of hierarchy. It is a theatre, a blood-stained democracy. For the next few hours the crowd acts as one, laughs as one, shouts as one. It judges with the same thumb, the same breath. But when the games end, the illusion lifts, the spell breaks, and once again the Colosseum becomes a mirror of the Roman world. The senators exit first under the cover of shaded awnings. The equestrians file out next. The citizens descend in orderly rows. The women wait. The poor trickle down the stone steps slowly. The slaves linger behind, sweeping trash, cleaning blood, resetting the arena. Rome resets its layers, its social code, its architecture of control, and the next day it will do it all again. You return home, perhaps with a splinter from the bench, perhaps with wine stains on your tunic. You've seen things you'll never forget, but you've also seen yourself, where you belong, in wood or stone, in shadow or sun. The Colosseum did not simply show Rome's might, it revealed its soul, and every seat had a story.